Okay, so last topic for today, we have Devcon 2. That is officially happening in the next month. For those that don't know, Devcon was the new sort of developers conference Palantir rolled out, similar to AIPCon, but particularly for developers. That was the first one in November. 3 months later, they're ready for Devcon 2. Dom, your reaction to this, and do you think this is going to get a lot more developers on board with Palantir?
I do. I mean, I think with their developer community and what we've seen, people just creating their own products on AIP, and then some of those, I believe, who win out on the best ideas at DevCon were able to get like additional support from Palantir. I could see this really expanding and going back to this ties into the conversation we were just having about where to spend your money. They have a lot of insights as to what needs have to happen for the federal government to and our military to really level up the technology that they should be using. And with FedStart, I know there were comments in there in the chat saying, "Hey, has FedStart started monetizing?" The answer is yes. They have I think 15 plus customers on FedStart. And so they know what the needs are that our military needs to open up purchasing. I could see them working with a lot of these DevCon developers, former employees starting their own companies. Really, I mean, think about when you talk to Boundless, I mean, just how they said, we were able to build something in 3 weeks that would have taken us 6 months and capital we didn't have. To be the backbone that can enable smart people with great ideas to deliver products in that short amount of time, man, take 250 million and take a couple of those small ideas and nurture those with the smart, brilliant people they have at Palantir. I mean, you could see some things really be disruptive in the defense sector of getting new companies FedRamped and in there.
Agreed.
Yeah, Matt, your thoughts on moving fast to DevCon 2?
Good question. I don't know if I ever really looked too much at DevCon 1. I need to potentially go back. I know it was more of like an intimate setting versus kind of the Foundry cons and the AIP cons of the world, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that's one of the things that developers have been asking is more support and being able to get more tools to in tutorials to help develop it, because it seems like the user interface with Foundry and Palantir is not easy, right? There's a lot of different tools, whistles, etc. It's not like picking up like an iPhone, right, where you can kind of figure out how to use it very quickly. So, having those dev cons and allowing people to kind of understand all the different intricacies of all the different things like pipeline builder and how to use all these different applications, I think is going to be extremely useful because it's thinking differently comparatively to, I'm sure, what a lot of people have done in the past. So yeah, I'm always for it. Very bullish for a lot of things that Palantir has done. And I think this is another good one.
Amir, your thoughts?
Yeah, I remember when a dev community was a cold trap pipe dream years ago. And to see that Palantir has actually taken solid steps forward in recent year, I mean, it's of course fantastic. And more, I start to see non-investors speak out about the capabilities of Palantir. I'm talking like LinkedIn, on X, and it's actually starting to become a reality with this whole developer community. And I think a real developer community will be key for the ecosystem that Palantir wants to build. I mean, since the first filing, one of the stated mission and goals is that they want to be the operating system for the modern enterprise, and for that you will need a real developer community. I mean, we already know about the marketplace idea where people can actually make careers out of developing on the platform, and we know, for example, Fujitsu, they have built over 100 apps in-house themselves. They have a dedicated engineer force for Palantir. So I think slowly, and perhaps not even so slowly anymore, with the DevCon 2 coming so quickly after DevCon 1. I mean, it must have been a huge success. I think we're starting to see this play out. And I think they're actually starting to build a real ecosystem here. Of course, it's shame that it took so long, because CodeStrap was like, for the initial, like, since going public, it took like 2 years before they started actively taking steps. But now they're really taking real steps and actually starting to support a developer community. So I think it's fantastic. I think it will benefit Palantir in the long run to have a lot of talent out there, be familiar with the Palantir's various platforms, and over time it will pay dividends, I'm sure. So yeah, very
yeah. I
excited.
mean, look at North Slope Technologies, Ontologize. These are companies that are growing and adding headcount rapidly to do exactly what you're saying and kind of help. I'm sure Matt's maybe even interacted in his job with contractors or others who are familiar with working with Foundry and not necessarily a direct Palantir FDE all the time. You look at what CUDA was for NVIDIA, and they realized very early years ago that you win the developer community and you've now, you have something that they want to build on. You can expand dramatically your footprint. And now there's 40 million developers using CUDA, and there already talks about, antitrust and making, because it's so successful, that making them have to open that up to all GPU makers and work with their GPUs. So take that to Palantir. I could see the same thing. I mean, you're having the operating system that you can build off of everything for any industry. An industry very well, and you can build on it. They could really expand very fast here in the next couple of years with that.
I agree. I think it's super cool. I'm just happy they're moving fast. I mean, like Devcon 2, 3 months later is pretty incredible. And, what if we have Devcon 3, Devcon 4 all of this year? Like last year, we had 3 AFP cons. So if we have another 3 AFP cons, another 3 Devcons, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff that they're doing to make sure people understand their overall vision.
One of the things I would love to see, and I know you're about to kind of
no, you got it. Go ahead.
But I'd love to see an investor day, whether or not you have the retail community invited or not, but to kind of show people, not necessarily they do it a little bit, but they end up focusing 5-10 minutes about what they're working on a little bit in the beginning of the presentations on a quarterly basis, but then they go into the performance. And to me, I care about the performance a little bit. I care that the trends are going in the right direction. Am I going to be really hung up if the revenue growth is 32% versus 28%? No. But what I care about is where my mentality is for the company is they're going to continue to build products like Warp Speed. They're going to continue to find other avenues to find and develop revolutionary products that help solve real world problems that the likes of Microsoft and Google and many of these other companies aren't focusing on. And they're going to build their own sort of moat that way by building customized software. And, they're going to build individual Excel workbooks or basically custom software that works for, say, 40 or 50 different industries. And they're going to end up with, let's just say 20 or 30 big products that different industries can work. And it's going to be as foundational as Excel has been for the modern enterprise has over the past, say, 20, 30 years, but for each individual industry. And then think about the revenue streams that can kind of come from that. And I don't think that that's where people are fully understanding at the moment. Warp Speed will be very transformational for a lot of different companies. And so what's next to come? Is it going to be specific towards space? Is it going to be specific towards financials? Is it going to be specific towards, back end kind of like HR and also like payment processes and, ERP systems, etc. There's a lot of different avenues that I think Palantir can kind of build off of. And I would love to hear what their thoughts are with an actual investor day, because I think it's been a couple of years since they've had an official investor day.
Yeah, I mean, like to your point, I don't know if it's something internal decision wise and why they haven't done this, but I could envision them having like an AI day like Tesla does or a GTC conference like NVIDIA does. I could see them having industry days of the future of manufacturing, the future of defense, the future of ERPs and business and logistics.
Healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare. I mean, I would just think like just healthcare, particularly, they have 28% of all beds in America run on their software. They could get close to 90%, I would think, if they were to double down on the education and the impact that it's had for these larger organizations and where they're headed, and that people would follow through. I just, because every time we hear someone get their hands on the technology, you know, we heard it with Boundary, they're blown away. And so I think it still goes back to what CodeStrap was saying, as Amir was talking about years ago, was just somehow make it accessible, which it is now. It's free, right? It is like you can actually get your hands on it and start building off of it. But to see the outcomes on what it's done for HCA, Cleveland Clinic, Tampa Bay, you know, Airbus, you know, all these different things. I just think the world still doesn't know exactly how powerful Palantir is, but they will. It just might take longer than what we want it to.